The space station was bigger than anything Connor Blake had ever seen. Nexus Prime stretched for miles in every direction, its silver walls gleaming under the light of 3 distant suns. Small ships moved around it like insects around a giant flower. Each ship was larger than Earth's biggest spacecraft, yet they looked tiny next to the massive station. Connor straightened, his blue diplomatic uniform, as their small shuttle approached the docking bay. He was Earth's first ambassador to the stars, and the weight of that responsibility pressed down on him like a heavy stone. Beside him, Colonel Ashley Morgan checked her tablet one more time. Her green military uniform was crisp and clean, but Connor noticed how her eyes never stopped moving, always watching, always studying everything around them. "Remember," Connor said quietly, "we're here to listen and learn." Dr. Ryan Martinez looked up from his scientific equipment. The thin man had been recording everything since they left Earth's solar system. "The energy readings from this station are incredible," he whispered. "Their technology is at least 200 years ahead of ours." Ashley nodded, but said nothing. She had been quiet during the entire 3-day journey from Earth. Connor knew she was thinking about military things, but he hoped they would not be needed. This was supposed to be a peaceful meeting. Their shuttle slid into the docking bay with a soft bump. The bay was huge, big enough to hold 100 ships like theirs. Strange machines moved cargo containers that floated in the air without any visible support. Workers from different alien species moved around the bay. Some looked like giant insects, others like walking crystals, and a few reminded Connor of the lizards he had seen in Earth's museums. A group of aliens waited for them at the airlock. The leader was tall and made of what looked like living crystal. Light moved through his body in slow, colorful patterns. When he spoke, his voice sounded like wind chimes. "I am Vex Tar, High Chancellor of the Galactic Council," the crystal being said. "You are the representatives from the primitive world called Earth." Connor felt his face get warm at the word primitive, but he kept his voice calm. "Yes, I am. Ambassador Connor Blake. This is Colonel Ashley Morgan and Dr. Ryan Martinez. We are honored to meet you." Vexstar made a sound that might have been laughter. Honored. How quaint. He turned and began walking down a long hallway. "Follow me. The council is waiting." The hallway was wide enough for 10 people to walk side by side. The walls showed moving pictures of space battles, alien cities, and strange worlds. Ashley studied each image carefully, while pretending to look straight ahead. Ryan's eyes were wide with wonder at the advanced technology around them. They entered a massive circular room with a high ceiling that seemed to stretch up forever. 12 large chairs were arranged in a circle, each one designed for a different type of alien. In the center was a small platform with 3 simple chairs that looked almost sad compared to the magnificent alien seats. Connor and his team sat in the human chairs. Around them, the 12 council members took their places. Besides Vexstar, there was a being that looked like a walking tree, another that seemed to be made of flowing water, and creatures that Connor had no words to describe. "Humans of Earth," Vexstar began, his crystal body flashing brighter, "you have been brought before this council because your species has developed the ability to travel between stars. This is both impressive and concerning." A creature that looked like a giant mantis clicked its mandibles. "Your technology is crude and dangerous. Your weapons use explosions and fire. Your ships leak radiation. You are a threat to the order. We have built," Connor stood up slowly, "we come in peace. Earth wants to learn from the galaxy's wisdom and perhaps share what little knowledge we have." Several council members made sounds that Connor thought might be laughter. The tree-like being spoke in a voice like rustling leaves. "Share your knowledge? What could a species that still uses chemical rockets possibly teach us?" Dr. Martinez shifted uncomfortably in his chair. Ashley remained perfectly still, but Connor could see her jaw muscles tighten. Vextar raised one crystal arm, and the room became quiet. The Galactic Council has maintained peace across this galaxy for 3,000 of your Earth years. We have done this by ensuring that dangerous species are properly guided and controlled. Controlled? Connor asked, though he was afraid he already knew the answer. Protected, Vextar corrected, but his tone made it clear that protection and control meant the same thing. Earth will become a protected world under Council authority. You will be given technology appropriate for your development level. Your military will be disbanded. Your government will report to Council administrators. Connor felt his heart racing. This was not the partnership Earth had hoped for. And if we refuse this protection? The water creature flowed and shifted in its chair. Refusal is not wise. The Council has many ships and weapons beyond your understanding. It would be unfortunate if Earth chose to resist the galaxy's will. Ashley leaned forward slightly. Connor caught her eye and shook his head just a little. Not yet. We would like time to consider your generous offer, Connor said carefully. Vextar's crystal body dimmed. Very well. You have 30 of your Earth days to accept our protection. After that time, it will be imposed for the safety of all. The meeting continued for 2 more hours. The Council members spoke about trade regulations, population controls, and technology restrictions. Each new rule made it clear that protection meant slavery with a prettier name. When the meeting finally ended, Connor and his team were escorted back to their shuttle. Ashley had said nothing during the entire session, but Connor noticed that her eyes had been busy, studying the room's layout, the guards' positions, and the technology around them. During the flight back to Earth, the 3 humans sat in silence. For a long time. Finally, Dr. Martinez spoke. They think we're barbarians. They think we're weak, Ashley said quietly. It was the first time she had spoken since arriving at the station. Connor looked out at the stars racing past the shuttle. Maybe that's not such a bad thing. When they reached Earth, Connor found President Katie Sullivan waiting for them in the Oval Office. General Matt Harrison, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, sat beside her. Both looked tired and worried. Well? President Sullivan asked. Connor took a deep breath. They want to make us slaves and call it protection. We have 30 days to agree, or they'll force us. General Harrison leaned forward. How many ships do they have? Ashley finally smiled, and it was not a nice smile. Enough to be confident, not enough to be careful. President Sullivan looked between her advisors. Options? We could accept, Connor said. Live under their rule and hope for better times. Or, the president asked. Ashley's smile grew wider. Or we could show them that humans are not as primitive as they think. General Harrison nodded slowly. How long before their deadline? 29 days, Connor replied. Then we had better get started, the president said. General, brief them on Project Prometheus. As they walked to the secret briefing room, Connor wondered if they were making the right choice. The Galactic Council had technology and ships that Earth could not match. But as he looked at Ashley's confident expression and thought about Vextar's arrogant assumption that humans would simply submit, he felt something he had not expected. He felt hope. The elevator descended for what felt like forever. Connor Blake watched the numbers on the display climb higher as they went deeper underground. Level 50, level 75, level 100. He had never known there were places this deep beneath the Pentagon. How far down does this go? Dr. Ryan Martinez asked nervously. General Matt Harrison smiled. Far enough to keep secrets safe. The elevator finally stopped at level 127. The doors opened to reveal a hallway that stretched into the distance, lit by bright white lights. Colonel Ashley Morgan walked beside Connor as they followed the general. I had no idea this place existed, she whispered. Very few people do, General Harrison replied. What you are about to see has been classified above top secret for 23 years. They walked past doors marked with numbers and letters that meant nothing to Connor. Scientists and military personnel moved through the hallways with purpose. Everyone wore badges with security levels Connor had never heard of. Finally, they reached a massive door marked Project Prometheus, authorized personnel only. General Harrison placed his hand on a scanner. The door slid open with a soft hiss. The room beyond was enormous. It looked like mission control at NASA, but 10 times larger. Hundreds of computer screens showed images from space. Star maps covered the walls. In the center of the room, a woman with short black hair stood at a control console that seemed to float in the air. Dr. Lisa Kim, General Harrison called. Our guests have arrived. Dr. Kim turned around. She was younger than Connor had expected, maybe 40 years old, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Ambassador Blake, Colonel Morgan, Dr. Martinez, welcome to the real space program. Connor looked around the room in confusion. I don't understand. What is this place? Dr. Kim smiled. This is where we have been preparing for this day since 2002, the day we discovered we were not alone in the universe. She pressed a button. On her console, the wall screens changed to show what looked like asteroids floating in space. But as Connor looked closer, he realized they were not asteroids at all. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Kim said proudly, meet the Earth Defense Fleet. The objects on the screen were ships, massive ships hidden inside what looked like space rocks. As Connor watched, parts of the fake asteroids opened up to reveal weapons, engines, and docking bays. 200 fully armed vessels, Dr. Kim continued, spread throughout our solar system, hidden in the asteroid belt, on the dark side of the moon, in the rings of Saturn. The Galactic Council thinks we have maybe a dozen primitive spacecraft. Dr. Martinez stared at the screens with his mouth open. This is incredible. How did you build all this without anyone knowing? Very carefully, General Harrison said. Every mining mission, every space station supply run, every satellite launch carried hidden components. It took us over 20 years, but we did it. Colonel Morgan studied the ship designs. These don't look like anything I've seen before. Dr. Kim nodded. They're not. We designed them specifically to fight aliens, not humans. When we first detected alien signals, we realized their technology would be far ahead of ours. So we asked ourselves, how do you fight an enemy with better weapons and faster ships? A new voice answered from across the room. You fight dirty. Connor turned to see a man in a naval uniform walking toward them. He was tall and broad-shouldered, with gray hair and scars on his hands that spoke of years in dangerous work. Captain Jake Thompson, the man introduced himself, commander of the E.A.'s Liberty, flagship of the Earth Defense Fleet. Fight dirty? Connor asked. Captain Thompson grinned. The aliens have been at peace for thousands of years. They fight clean, wars with rules and honor. They use energy weapons designed to disable enemy ships without killing the crew. They try to win battles with minimum casualties. And humans? Ashley asked, though Connor could see she already knew the answer. Humans fight to win, Captain Thompson said simply. We use whatever works. Explosives, ramming attacks, boarding parties, electromagnetic pulses. Things the aliens would consider barbaric. Dr. Kim brought up new images on the screens. Colonel Morgan, you observed their weapons during your visit to Nexus Prime. Tell us what you saw. Ashley stood straighter. Their ships use energy shields that deflect plasma and laser weapons. Very impressive. But I noticed something interesting. When they demonstrated their defensive systems, they only tested them against energy-based attacks. Exactly. Dr. Kim said excitedly. Their shields are designed to stop other alien weapons, but human weapons use kinetic energy. Bullets, missiles, explosive charges. Physical objects that hit with mass and velocity. Captain Thompson activated a holographic display in the center of the room. It showed an alien ship surrounded by a glowing energy field. Their shields are like a wall designed to stop thrown rocks. But we don't throw rocks. The hologram changed to show a human missile hitting the alien ship. The energy shield flickered and failed as the physical projectile punched through it. Their shields can't handle kinetic impacts, Dr. Kim explained. It's like trying to stop a speeding truck with a flashlight. Connor felt a chill run down his spine. You're talking about war. They're talking about war, General Harrison corrected. We're talking about survival. Dr. Martinez looked at the ship designs more carefully. These human ships look different from alien vessels. Captain Thompson nodded. Alien ships are built for speed and efficiency. Elegant, beautiful, but fragile. Our ships are built like tanks. Heavy armor, redundant systems, multiple backup plans. If you damage an alien ship, it stops working. If you damage a human ship, it keeps fighting. Ashley studied the tactical displays. What about their numbers? They have thousands of ships across the galaxy, but they don't have thousands of ships. Here, Dr. Kim pointed out, the Council is arrogant. They think Earth is a primitive world that will surrender after a small show of force. Our intelligence suggests they will send maybe 50 ships to intimidate us. 50 ships with superior technology, Connor reminded her. Captain Thompson's grin became predatory. Superior technology. It was never designed to fight humans. They've been fighting the same type of enemies for 3,000 years. Energy. Weapons, honor codes, clean warfare. They have no experience with human tactics. Dr. Kim brought up another display showing the solar system. Red dots marked the positions of hidden human ships. We've been studying alien warfare for decades through intercepted communications. They fight in formations. They announce their attacks. They give enemies chances to surrender. They follow rules. Humans don't follow their rules, Ashley said quietly. Exactly, General Harrison said. Colonel Morgan, what else did you observe about their command structure? Ashley thought for a moment. They're very hierarchical. Orders come from the top down. Individual ship captains seem to have little independence. If you could disrupt their command structure, their fleet might become confused. Captain Thompson nodded approvingly. That's exactly what we're counting on. Alien fleets work like a symphony orchestra. Everyone follows the conductor. But human fleets work like a jazz band. Everyone knows the song, but we can improvise. Dr. Kim activated one final display. It showed detailed scans of Nexus Prime from Ashley's visit. Colonel Morgan's observations gave us something very valuable. The station's defensive systems follow predictable patterns. Automated responses. No human intuition or unpredictability. Connor looked around the room at all the screens, ships, and weapons. Part of him was amazed at what humanity had accomplished in secret. Part of him was terrified at what it meant. What's the plan? He asked finally. General Harrison's expression became serious. The Council will send a fleet to force us into submission. When they arrive, they'll find out that humans are not as primitive as they assumed. And after we defeat their fleet, we're going to take the war to them. Take the war to them? Connor asked. Captain Thompson's eyes gleamed. We're going to capture Nexus Prime itself. Show the galaxy that the Galactic Council can be beaten. Once other species see that the Council isn't invincible, everything changes. Dr. Martinez shook his head in amazement. This is either the bravest thing humanity has ever attempted, or the most foolish. Probably both, Ashley said. But we don't have a choice. We can't live as slaves. Connor thought about Vextar's arrogant voice and the way the council had dismissed humanity as primitive. Barbarians. Maybe it was time to show them what barbarians could do when they put their minds to it. How long before they arrive? He asked. Dr. Kim checked her displays. 26 days. Then we had better be ready, Connor said, and for the first time, since returning from Nexus Prime, he felt something other than dread. He felt eager. Admiral Cursith stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the primitive solar system grow larger on the main screen. His scales shimmered green with satisfaction as he counted the ships in his fleet. 50 of the Council's finest warships, each one capable of destroying entire cities. More than enough to handle one backward planet. Admiral, his communications officer hissed, we are receiving signals from the human world. They are asking us to identify ourselves. Cursith laughed, a sound like rocks grinding together. Ignore them. Let the humans wonder what is coming. He was Drakmari, a proud warrior race that had served the Council for 800 years. This would be the easiest victory of his long career. The fleet emerged from hyperspace near the 4th planet the humans called Mars. Cursith expected to see the tiny human ships fleeing in terror. Instead, he saw only empty space and a few small vessels that looked like mining equipment. Where is their fleet? Asked Commander Vexcall from the weapons station. Hiding behind their moon, probably, Cursith replied. Cowards always run when real warriors arrive. On the bridge of the EA's Liberty, Captain Jake Thompson watched the alien ships through his tactical display. They moved in perfect formation, their energy shields glowing like bright stars against the darkness of space. Beautiful ships, he had to admit, but beauty would not save them. All ships. This is Liberty Actual. Jake spoke into his communication system. Enemy fleet has arrived. Begin Phase 1. Throughout the solar system, 200 human ships began moving toward Earth. They had been waiting for weeks, hidden among asteroids, behind moons, in the shadows of planets. Now they converged like wolves surrounding prey. Admiral Curse studied the small group of human ships ahead of him. Only 12 vessels, and they looked like cargo freighters. These are their defenders? Open a channel. The main screen flickered and showed the bridge of the lead human ship. A man in a military uniform sat calmly in the captain's chair. He looked older than most humans Cursith had seen, with gray hair and steady eyes. I am Admiral Cursith of the Galactic Council Fleet, the alien announced. You will surrender immediately and prepare to receive Council administrators. The human captain smiled. I am Captain Jake Thompson of the Earth Defense Fleet. My answer is no. Cursith felt. His scales darkened with anger. You have 12 ships against 50. Do not be foolish. Captain Thompson's smile grew wider. You're right. 12 ships would not be enough. He paused. Good thing we brought more. All around the alien fleet, space began to change. What had looked like asteroids and space debris suddenly revealed themselves as warships. Energy signatures flared to life as hidden engines activated. Weapon systems that had been cold and silent began to warm up. Commander Vexcall stared at his sensor readings in disbelief. Admiral, I am detecting 200 human vessels. They were hiding. How did they hide from our sensors? Cursith felt cold fear creep up his spine. Impossible. Our intelligence said they had only a few primitive ships. On the Liberties. Bridge. Captain Thompson checked his displays one final time. Every human ship was in position. The aliens were surrounded, though they probably did not realize it yet. All ships, weapons free, Jake commanded. Show them what humans can do. The first lesson came when Admiral Cursith ordered a warning shot. Target their engines only. Disable the lead ship. The bright blue plasma beam struck the Liberty directly. Cursith expected to see the human ship's engines explode and its hull crack open. Instead, the energy simply scattered across the ship's armor like water hitting a stone. "What?" Commander Vexcall gasped. "Our weapons had no effect." Captain Thompson activated his communications again. "Thanks for the light show. Our turn." The Liberty fired a single missile. Not an energy weapon, but a simple explosive projectile moving at tremendous speed. It struck the alien flagship's shield and punched through like it was made of paper. The explosion tore a huge hole in the alien ship's hull. Cursith watched in horror as his perfect energy shield failed to stop a primitive explosive device. "All ships, return fire. Destroy them." The battle that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. The alien ships fired their elegant energy weapons in coordinated patterns, just as they had been trained. But the human ships fought like wild animals. Captain Thompson ordered ramming attacks that made the aliens scream in terror. Who deliberately crashed their ships into enemy vessels? Human ships that should have been destroyed by alien fire kept fighting with half their hull missing. Crews that should have surrendered continued to fire weapons while their ships were falling apart around them. Lieutenant Commander Steve Richards piloted his destroyer directly into an alien cruiser, detonating his ship's nuclear reactor on impact. Both ships vanished in a ball of fire, but the human sacrifice destroyed a vessel worth 10 times more than his own. "They fight like madmen," Commander Vexcall reported, his voice shaking. "They are willing to die just to damage us." Admiral Cursith had never seen anything like it. In 3,000 years of galactic peace, wars were fought with rules. Ships disabled each other's weapons and accepted surrender. Crews were captured, not killed. But these humans fought as if death meant nothing. To them, Captain Lisa Park led a boarding party that used explosive charges to blow holes in alien ship hulls. Her Marines fought through corridors filled with poisonous gas, using simple projectile weapons that the aliens had no defense against. When her team reached the alien bridge, they planted bombs and fought their way out, leaving the enemy ship a drifting wreck. The human tactics were brutal and effective. While alien ships tried to disable human vessels cleanly, human ships used every dirty trick they could think of. They fired missiles filled with metal fragments that tore through alien armor. They used electromagnetic pulses that fried alien computers. They even launched pieces of destroyed ships as projectile weapons. "Admiral," Vexcall reported desperately, "we have lost 23 ships. Their weapons ignore our shields." Their tactics are impossible to predict. Cursith watched another of his beautiful warships explode under human fire. These creatures fought without honor, without rules, without fear. They were savages, but they were winning. Captain Thompson coordinated the human attack with cold efficiency. His ships moved in unpredictable patterns that confused alien targeting systems. When the aliens tried to regroup, human vessels appeared from new directions. When they tried to retreat, human ships blocked their escape routes. "Focus fire on their command ship," Jake ordered. "Take out their admiral." A dozen human ships concentrated their fire on Cursith's flagship. Missiles, railgun projectiles, and nuclear charges overwhelmed the alien shields. The proud warship began to break apart. "Admiral, we must retreat," Commander Vexcall pleaded. "We cannot win this battle." Cursith stared at the tactical display, showing the remains of his fleet. 37 ships destroyed or disabled. The humans had lost only 8 vessels, and some of those losses were deliberate ramming attacks. It was impossible. It was insane. It was defeat. "All remaining ships," he transmitted to his surviving vessels, "emergency jump to hyperspace. Retreat to Nexus Prime immediately." The 13 surviving alien ships fled toward the edge of the solar system, their beautiful formations broken and scattered. Behind them, The human fleet regrouped among the wreckage of what had once been the Council's finest peacekeeping force. Captain Thompson surveyed the battlefield with satisfaction. Phase 1 was complete. The galaxy's greatest military power had just been humbled by a species they considered primitive barbarians. All ships, damage reports, he commanded. We have a station to capture. The Galactic Council was about to learn that humanity's military power was only the beginning of their problems. Admiral Cursith's flagship limped toward hyperspace, its hull scarred and its crew traumatized. In a few days, he would stand before the Council and try to explain how 50 advanced warships had been defeated by human savages using crude weapons and insane tactics. He suspected they would not believe him until it was too late. General Ashley Morgan stood on the bridge of the EA's Liberty as it dropped out of hyperspace. Around her, 29 other human warships appeared in flashes of blue light. Ahead of them hung Nexus Prime, the great silver station that had been the center of galactic power for 3,000 years. General, Captain Jake Thompson reported, all ships have arrived safely. We are 3 million kilometers from the target. Ashley nodded, studying the massive station through the tactical display. It looked even bigger than she remembered from her diplomatic visit weeks ago. Weapons platforms floated around it like deadly satellites. Energy barriers shimmered in the space between them. Any response from the station? She asked Lieutenant Sarah Kim, checked her communications panel. They are trying to hail us, General. Multiple channels. They want to talk. Ashley's smile was cold. Maintain radio silence. Begin the attack. On Nexus Prime, High Chancellor Vextar watched the approaching human ships with growing alarm. His crystal body flickered with rapid light patterns as he tried to contact the human fleet. Why will they not respond to our communications? He demanded. This violates all civilized rules of warfare. Admiral Vexvor, the mantis-like military commander, clicked his mandibles nervously. Chancellor, our sensors show only 30 ships. Surely 30 vessels cannot threaten this station. Vextar remembered Admiral Cursith's terrified report about the battle at Earth, the proud Drakmari. Admiral had barely escaped with 13 ships from a fleet of 50. His description of human tactics had seemed impossible, but now Vextar wondered if they had underestimated these savage creatures. Activate all defensive systems, he ordered. Prepare for battle. General Morgan watched the alien defenses come online. Energy barriers strengthened. Weapon platforms began tracking the human ships. Automated defense drones launched from hidden bays in the station's hull. Just like the simulations, she said quietly. Computer-controlled responses. Number. Creativity. No adaptation. Captain Thompson checked his weapon systems. All ships report ready, General. Begin Phase 1, Ashley commanded. Target their automated defenses. The human ships opened fire with everything they had. But instead of the elegant energy weapons the aliens expected, streams of metal projectiles and explosive missiles raced toward the station. The alien energy barriers, designed to stop plasma beams and laser fire, offered no protection against physical objects moving at tremendous speed. Defense platforms exploded in brilliant flashes as human railgun rounds tore through them. Missile impacts sent chunks of metal spinning into space. In minutes, the outer defensive ring was reduced to glowing debris. Impossible, Admiral Vexvor gasped. Their primitive weapons are destroying our defenses. High Chancellor Vextar's crystal body burned with angry red light. Launch fighters. Send boarding parties to their ships. But the humans had no intention of fighting a traditional space battle. Instead of engaging the alien fighters, they ignored them completely and headed straight for the station itself. Captain Nicole Davis piloted her assault transport directly toward Nexus Prime's hull. Behind her, 50 Marines in heavy armor checked their weapons one final time. Their equipment looked crude compared to alien technology, but it worked. Remember, Nicole told her team, we're not here to capture prisoners. We're here to take this station. Use whatever force necessary. The transport slammed into the station's hull with tremendous impact. Instead of using docking procedures, the humans simply blasted a hole through the outer wall and forced their way inside. Emergency. Alarms screamed throughout Nexus Prime as atmosphere rushed out through the breach. Alien security forces rushed toward the human landing site, but they were not prepared for what they found. Sergeant Brandon Clark activated his electromagnetic pulse device as soon as he stepped onto the station. The alien computer systems, which controlled everything from lights to life support, sparked and died. Emergency lighting flickered on, casting strange shadows through the corridors. Life support systems are down in sections 7 through 12, an alien technician reported. In panic, the humans have disabled our computers. Lieutenant Amy Foster led her squad through ventilation shafts that the aliens had never considered vulnerable. The space was tight, but humans were smaller than most alien species. While the alien defenders tried to stop the main assault, Amy's team crawled through the station's hidden passages. We're in position above the command center, she whispered into her radio. Ready to drop explosive charges on your signal. General Morgan coordinated the attack from the Liberty's bridge. Her forces had split into multiple teams, each one targeting a different part of the station. While the aliens tried to defend against the main assault, human commandos struck at power generators, computer cores, and communication systems. Aliens fought bravely, but they were not prepared for human tactics. Their weapons were designed to stun and disable, not kill. Their training focused on capturing enemies alive for trial and rehabilitation. But the humans showed no mercy and took no prisoners. Captain Nicole led her Marines through the stations. Main corridors, using explosive charges to blast through bulkhead doors. When alien defenders tried to set up defensive positions, she simply ordered her team to blow holes in the walls and attack from unexpected directions. They fight like animals, one alien defender screamed into his radio before a human grenade ended his transmission. Sergeant Clark's EMP attacks had crippled the station's automated systems. Without computer control, doors would not open, elevators stopped working, and security systems failed. The aliens found themselves trapped in their own fortress. Lieutenant Foster's team dropped through the ceiling of the command center just as High Chancellor Vextar was trying to coordinate the defense. The explosion of her charges filled the room with smoke and debris. Chancellor, Admiral Vextar cried, we must evacuate. The humans have taken the power core and communications array, but Vextar refused to surrender. Instead, he activated the station's emergency broadcast system, sending a message across the entire galaxy. To all Council member species, his voice echoed through space. Nexus Prime is under attack by the primitive humans of Earth. They fight without honor, without mercy. Send military aid immediately. The future of galactic civilization depends on stopping these barbarians. The broadcast was exactly what General Morgan had hoped for. Every species in the galaxy would now know that the mighty Galactic Council was being defeated by humans they had considered weak and primitive. The fighting was over. Human forces controlled every major system on Nexus Prime. The alien defenders had been overwhelmed by tactics they could not understand or counter. High Chancellor Vextar stood in his ruined command center, surrounded by human Marines with their weapons pointed at him. His crystal body had turned a dull gray color that indicated defeat and despair. General Morgan entered the command center and looked around at the damaged alien technology. High Chancellor Vextar, I presume? The crystal being flickered weakly. You have violated every law of civilized warfare. A galaxy will unite against your savagery. Ashley smiled. The galaxy will unite, but not the way you think. She gestured to one of her communications officers. Send a message to Earth. Tell President Sullivan that Nexus Prime is ours. Captain Thompson joined them in the command center. General, we're receiving reports from across the galaxy. Several species are declaring independence from the Council. Others are asking to open diplomatic relations with Earth. Vexstar's crystal body dimmed even further. Impossible. The Council has maintained order for 3 millennia. Your Council maintained order through fear and superior technology, Ashley replied. But we just proved that your technology isn't superior to human determination. She looked out through the command center's windows at the human ships patrolling around the captured station. The galaxy is about to change, Chancellor. The question is whether you want to be part of that change, or a victim of it. As human technicians began studying alien computer systems and human marines secured the rest of the station, Ashley realized that this victory was only the beginning. The real war would not be fought with weapons, but with words and ideas. Galactic Council's era of absolute power was over. The age of human influence in galactic affairs had just begun. President Katie Sullivan stood in the captured command center of what had once been Nexus Prime. Through the massive windows, she could see human ships patrolling the space around the station. 3 weeks had passed since General Ashley Morgan's forces had taken control of the galactic capital, and the galaxy was changing faster than anyone had expected. Madam President, Ambassador Connor Blake reported, we have received formal requests for diplomatic meetings from 47 different species. 18 more have declared independence from the Galactic Council in the past week alone. Katie nodded as she studied the reports on her tablet. The galaxy was in chaos, but it was the good kind of chaos that came when people suddenly realized they could be free. General Morgan approached the President with a satisfied expression. The last of the Council's administrative staff have been relocated to the civilian quarters. We now have complete control of all station systems. Any resistance? Katie asked. None, Ashley replied. Most of the alien staff seem relieved to be working for humans instead of the Council. Apparently, we treat our employees better than their old bosses did. High Chancellor Vexstar entered the room under guard. His crystal body had remained gray and dim since the station's capture, but he moved with dignity despite his defeat. The former ruler of the galaxy had requested this meeting personally. President Sullivan, Vexstar said, his voice like distant wind chimes, I have come to formally surrender the authority of the Galactic Council to Earth. Katie studied the alien leader carefully. That's generous of you, Chancellor, but Earth doesn't want to rule the galaxy. Vexstar's crystal body flickered with confusion. Then what do you want? We want the galaxy to rule itself, Katie replied simply. No more councils making decisions for everyone else. No more forcing species to accept protection they don't want. Every world should choose its own path. The crystal being stood silent for a long moment. You could control everything. Your military power has proven superior to ours. Why would you give up such an opportunity? Connor Blake stepped forward. Because that's not who we are. Humans fight for freedom, not conquest. Admiral Jake Thompson, recently promoted from captain, joined the conversation. Chancellor, your council ruled through fear and control. That's not sustainable. Eventually, someone stronger always comes along. And now that someone is you, Vexstar observed. No, Katie said firmly. We're not here to replace your empire with our own. We're here to make sure no one can build another empire like yours. Through the station's communication systems, Katie had been monitoring the galactic response to the Council's fall. The results were remarkable. Species that had been forced into the Council centuries ago were declaring independence. Old alliances were forming new partnerships. Trade routes that had been controlled by council regulations were opening up to free commerce. Dr. Ryan Martinez approached with his latest analysis. Madam President, our scientists have been studying the council's archives. What we've found is disturbing. What kind of disturbing? Katie asked. The council has been suppressing technological development across the galaxy for over 1,000 years, Ryan explained. Any species that developed technology the council considered dangerous was forced to abandon it or face destruction. General Morgan looked interested. What kind of technology? Faster engines, better weapons, improved manufacturing. The council kept the galaxy primitive to maintain control, Ryan continued. There are species out there with the knowledge to build technology that would make council ships look ancient, but they were never allowed to use it. Katie felt a surge of anger. They held back the entire galaxy's progress to stay in power. That is correct, Vextar admitted quietly. The council believed that rapid technological advancement led to warfare and chaos. By controlling development, we maintained peace. You maintained your own power, Ashley corrected sharply. Peace through oppression isn't really peace. Admiral Thompson activated the main communication screen. Madam President, we're receiving an incoming transmission from the Kepler Republic. They're one of the species that declared independence last week. The screen showed a being that looked like a walking tree with golden bark and silver leaves. When it spoke, its voice was like rustling autumn wind. President Sullivan, the tree being said, I am Speaker Calvin of the Kepler Republic. Our people wish to thank Earth for freeing us from council control. We are ready to share our advanced propulsion technology with humanity as a gift of... Katie smiled. Speaker Calvin, we appreciate your offer, but we believe technology should be shared freely among all species, not just with Earth. The alien seemed surprised. You would not keep our technology for yourselves? Knowledge belongs to everyone, Katie replied. That's one of the principles our new galactic government will be based on. Over the following hours, similar communications came from across the galaxy. The Helix Federation offered their medical advances. The crystal communes shared their energy generation techniques. The metal shapers provided their manufacturing processes. Each species offered their knowledge to Earth, and each time Katie insisted that it be shared with everyone. By evening, the transformation of Nexus Prime was complete. Human technicians had removed the council symbols and replaced them with simple emblems representing peace and cooperation. The station's name had been officially changed to Freedom Station. Katie stood in the main assembly hall where the Galactic Council had once made decisions for trillions of beings. The 12 ornate council chairs had been removed. In their place were simple seats arranged in a circle with no chair higher than any other. Tomorrow, Katie told her advisors, we'll hold the first meeting of the Galactic Assembly. Every species will have a voice. Every world will have a vote. Connor Blake looked around the transformed hall. Do you think it will work? Can the galaxy really govern itself without a central authority? It has to work, Katie replied. The alternative is another empire, and we've seen where that leads. General Morgan checked her security reports. We've received confirmation that all former Council military forces have stood down. Most of their ships are requesting permission to join the new Galactic Defense Force. Admiral Thompson nodded approvingly. A voluntary military alliance instead of an occupying force. Much better. As the days passed, representatives from hundreds of worlds arrived at Freedom Station. Some came from species that had been council members, others from worlds that had been oppressed. All came with the same hope, the chance to build something better. The first Galactic Assembly meeting was chaotic, but productive. Without the council's rigid hierarchy, species argued, debated, and negotiated like equals. Decisions took longer, but they were decisions everyone could accept. High Chancellor Vic Starr attended as a representative of the remaining council species. His crystal body had begun to show faint colors again as he adapted to the new reality. "This is not how we expected things to end," he told Katie during a break in the proceedings. "How did you expect things to end?" she asked. "We thought we would rule forever," Vextar admitted. "We believed our technology and organization made us superior to younger species." Katie looked out at the assembly hall, where hundreds of different beings worked together. "Maybe that was your mistake. You assumed superiority instead of seeking cooperation." "And now?" Vextar asked. "Now we find out what the galaxy can accomplish when everyone works together instead of being forced to follow orders." 6 months later, Katie stood in the same spot where she had first met Vextar as a conqueror. Freedom Station hummed with activity as representatives from across the galaxy worked on trade agreements, scientific partnerships, and mutual defense pacts. Admiral Thompson reported that the new Galactic Defense Force was operating smoothly, with ships and crews from dozens of species working together. General Morgan had established training programs that taught human military tactics to alien forces while learning their advanced technologies in return. The galaxy was not peaceful, but it was free. Some worlds chose isolation, others formed alliances, and a few even tried to restart old conflicts. But without the Council's oppressive control, most species found they preferred cooperation to warfare. Connor Blake approached with the latest status report. "Madam President, the Assembly has voted to make you the first Director of Galactic Affairs." Katie shook her head. "The position should rotate among species. Let someone else have a turn." "They insist it should be you," Connor replied. "At least for the first term." Katie looked out at the stars visible through the station windows. Each point of light represented worlds that were now free to choose their own destinies. It was not the ending anyone had expected when the Galactic Council first threatened Earth, but it was a better ending than anyone had dared to hope. The galaxy had not been prepared for Earth's military power, but more importantly, it had not been prepared for Earth's commitment to freedom. And that, Katie realized, was what would make all the difference in the years to come.